Welcome back to the Podcast Playground. Our newest podcast is The Best Podcast.
Join Jay Carter and Mivita Best on The Best Podcast, where the dynamic duo brings you their insider secrets to everything wonderful.
Known for their discerning taste, The Best Family has critiqued the finest in entertainment, technology, and lifestyle.
Now Jay and me dive deep into the top 5 everything, from the latest cell phones to affordable wines that won't break the bank.
Every episode promises engaging discussions filled with humor and insight, ensuring you discover what truly deserves a spot at the top.
Whether you're looking for the best gadgets or simply want to elevate your everyday choices, this podcast is your go-to guide.
So tell a friend, you've found the best podcast,
where every recommendation is a gem waiting to be uncovered. Tune in weekly for your dose of excellence.
Who are the top athletes of all time?
Yeah.
You know, the ones who just totally rewrite the rule book for what's humanly possible.
Absolutely.
And we're tackling this head on today.
I love it.
But it's a debate
Oh, yeah.
that could go on forever
Right.
because there are so many incredible athletes
Yeah.
across different sports,
Uh-huh.
different eras.
Right.
How do you even begin to compare?
It's almost impossible.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so fascinating.
It really is.
So to help us out a little bit today, we've got 2 different top 10 greatest athletes lists.
Okay.
One from ICF
Uh-huh.
and the other from the top 10s.
Cool.
And get this,
what?
both lists
Yeah.
put Michael Jordan at number 1.
Okay.
So already that tells you something
It does.
right off the bat,
Yeah.
that there's something special there with Michael Jordan.
Well, the top 10s actually argues that Jordan is the Joe A because no one else has ever matched his combination of like athleticism,
Right.
skill,
Uh-huh.
grace,
Yeah.
mental toughness,
Right.
and that competitive fire.
Yeah, like he just had it all.
He had it all.
Turned up to 11.
Turned up to 11, yeah.
And ICF actually, I think, really drives that point home with the stats that they bring up.
Okay.
So they talk about his 6 NBA championships with the Bulls,
Right.
his 6 finals MVPs,
Wow.
10 scoring titles.
Mhm.
The list just goes on.
Yeah, when you lay it all out like that,
It's mind-boggling.
it really is, yeah.
So,
So we've got Jordan at the top spot.
Mhm.
Now coming in at number 2 on both lists is Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
Which I think also speaks volumes
and I
about his impact, not just in boxing, but, on the world stage.
it's true. The top 10s makes a really good point about that, too.
Oh,
That, Ali was more than just a boxer.
Right.
He was a force for social change.
Uh-huh.
He used his platform to fight for what he believed in. And that's a legacy that goes way beyond any championship belt.
No quiz.
ICEF highlights some of his most iconic fights,
Oh, yeah.
like the Thrilla in Manila
Right.
and the Rumble in the Jungle.
Yeah, those weren't just boxing matches. They were
Cultural events?
cultural events, absolutely. So we've got Jordan and Ali
Locked in at the top.
locked in at the top.
Okay.
But then things get really interesting
Yes, they do.
because both lists also include Usain Bolt,
Yeah.
Wayne Gretzky,
Uh-huh.
and Michael Phelps in their top 5.
Okay.
The order shifts a bit,
Right.
but
But they're all there.
they're all there.
So let's start with Bolt.
Okay.
The man is pure speed.
It's almost unbelievable to watch him run.
It is.
The top 10s actually encourages anyone who hasn't seen
Yeah.
his 100-meter races to look it up.
Yeah.
They say it's the best argument for Bolt being the greatest athlete of this century.
It's hard to argue with that when you look at his world records
Right.
in the 100-meter, 200-meter, and 4x100-meter relay.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. And ICF points out that he's the only sprinter ever to win Olympic gold
Wow.
in both the 100-meter and 200 meters at 3 consecutive Olympics.
3 in a row.
3 in a row.
That's insane.
Like that level of dominance is just,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
It is.
All right, so now shifting gears completely, let's talk about Wayne Gretzky.
Okay.
The top 10s focuses on his sheer statistical dominance in hockey.
Yeah.
And they say that he got to 1,000 points faster
Wow.
than anyone else in NHL history.
Okay.
And then he did it again
Oh, yeah.
for his second 1,000 points.
So he was statistically the best and second best
Yes.
hockey player ever.
Just based on that.
based on that.
It's incredible.
That's wild.
ICF adds that when Gretzky retired,
Yeah.
he held a whopping 61 NHL records.
61.
61.
Jeez.
And he was immediately inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Of course.
Like, no one even blinked an eye.
Right. His greatness was undeniable.
He was undeniable.
Yeah.
Okay, and lastly, in our shared top 5 here,
Okay.
we have Michael Phelps,
Michael Phelps.
the most decorated Olympian of all time.
Yeah. The man is a fish.
I mean, the top 10s actually focuses on his longevity.
Right.
They talk about how he won gold medals across multiple Olympic games,
Mm-hmm.
even came out of retirement to win more.
Yeah. That takes a special kind of dedication to
It does.
come back like that.
Like, does.
After already achieving so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And ICF reminds us of just the sheer scale of his achievements.
Right.
28 Olympic medals total,
Total.
23 of them gold.
Wow.
Like, Phelps completely redefined what is possible in swimming.
He did.
So it's pretty clear these two lists agree
Yeah.
on a core group of top athletes here.
Yeah.
Jordan,
Uh-huh.
Ollie Bolt,
Uh,
Gretzky, Phelps.
uh-huh.
But that doesn't mean the debate ends there.
No.
What's fascinating is how these rankings differ when we look beyond this top 5.
Right. Yeah.
And that forces us to ask,
yeah.
what really makes someone the Jew AT?
What are the criteria?
What are the criteria?
Is it just dominance
Right.
within your sport?
Oh.
Or is there something to be said for an athlete whose impact goes beyond the game?
Right.
Who becomes a symbol of something bigger?
Right.
Yeah,
And that's where I think things get even more interesting.
absolutely.
So we're going to dig into that a little bit more after the break.
Sounds good. So it's fascinating here that both these lists highlight athletes that weren't just dominant in their sport,
Right.
but who also had like this huge cultural impact.
Right.
You know,
Totally.
think about Muhammad Ali again.
Ali.
You know, he was a symbol of social change,
Uh-huh.
of standing up for what you believe in.
Yeah. And it makes you wonder, how much weight should we give to
Right.
an athlete's
Oh, yeah.
influence off the field
Uh-huh.
outside the arena?
Yeah.
Does that contribute
Should factor into.
to their greatest of all time status?
Yeah, it's a good question. And there's no easy answer.
Right.
I mean, some people might argue that athletic achievement should speak for itself,
Right.
that it's about the records, the championships,
Oh.
pure skill.
Mm-hmm. Right. Just
The numbers.
Just the numbers. But then you have someone like Ali, whose influence extended far beyond boxing.
Absolutely.
I mean, he was a voice for civil rights. He
Yeah.
was a global icon
Huh?
who challenged the status quo.
Yeah, it's hard to ignore that.
It's hard to ignore that. And this is where comparing athletes across different eras
Right.
gets really, really tricky.
It does.
I mean, how do you measure the impact of someone like Babe Ruth,
Right.
who revolutionized baseball
Yeah.
in the early 20th century,
Uh-huh.
against someone like Michael Jordan, who dominated basketball in the modern era?
Exactly.
It's just a really,
Yeah. How do you compare those two?
it's hard to compare.
Yeah.
So let's unpack that a little bit.
Okay.
The top 10s actually makes a case for Babe Ruth being the true GOAT.
Oh, wow.
They rank him at number 6 on their list.
Okay.
But they argue that his impact on baseball was so profound
Uh-huh.
that he arguably deserves the top spot.
Wow.
And they point out that he was both a dominant pitcher
Oh, right.
and hitter,
Yeah, which is pretty much unheard of at the time.
which is pretty much unheard of at the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And that's what's so remarkable about Ruth.
I mean, he changed the way the game was played,
He changed the way the game was played. He brought power hitting to the forefront,
right?
and he became a national hero in the process.
Uh-huh. But he's completely absent from the ICF list.
He's totally absent from the ICF
Yeah.
list,
Wow.
which just goes to show you, I think,
Yeah.
how subjective these rankings can be.
It really is subjective.
What one source considers essential,
Right.
another might totally downplay.
Yeah, it just depends on their criteria.
It does.
And it brings us back to, what are the criteria for GOAT status?
Right.
Is it pure athletic dominance?
Uh-huh.
Is it impact on the sport? Is it cultural influence?
Right.
Is it something else entirely?
Right. And I think it ultimately comes down to
Yeah.
what each individual values most.
I think so too.
For some people, it might be about breaking records,
Mm-hmm.
pushing the limits of human potential.
Yeah, just sheer athleticism.
Sheer athleticism for other people.
Mm-hmm.
It might be about the athlete's ability to inspire,
Yeah.
to transcend their sport.
Yeah. Be a role model off the field as well as on the field.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, there's another athlete who I think sparks some debate between our two lists,
Okay, who's that?
Jim Thorpe.
Okay.
Top 10 celebrates his versatility.
Uh-huh.
They point out that he excelled in football, baseball, and track and field.
Wow.
And they argue that his achievements are even more remarkable,
Yeah.
considering he faced poverty and racial discrimination throughout his life.
Yeah, Thorpe's story is truly inspiring.
It is.
You know, he overcame tremendous adversity to become a champion in multiple sports.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to imagine an athlete today competing
Right.
at a professional level
Yeah.
in 3 different disciplines.
Like, that's unheard of.
It is.
It really speaks to a level of talent and determination that's almost unfathomable.
It really does.
But ICF places him lower on their list at number 6.
Okay.
Again, highlighting how different sources might prioritize
Right.
different aspects of an athlete's legacy.
Different criteria.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all subjective.
It really is.
You know what's interesting, too, is that both of these lists focus primarily on athletes from the 20th and 21st centuries,
Okay.
which kind of begs the question,
Yeah.
does that mean there were no truly great athletes before the modern era?
Right. Like, are we only looking at
It's like we're only looking at a small slice
a small
of
slide?
athletic history. And
Yeah.
how can we even begin to compare
Right.
athletes across such vastly different time periods?
It's true.
Training methods, technology, even the rules of sports have changed so much over the years.
You're right. It's almost like comparing apples and oranges.
Exactly. But that doesn't mean we should discount
Right.
the achievements of athletes from earlier eras. We just need to appreciate them
Yeah.
within their specific historical context.
Within their context, exactly. So while we might not be able to definitively say who's the greatest athlete of all time
Right.
across all eras,
Yeah.
we can still celebrate the individuals who pushed the boundaries
Absolutely.
human potential
Yes.
in their respective times.
For sure. And I think that's a really crucial takeaway
Yeah.
from this whole discussion.
Absolutely. So we've looked at these greatest of all time lists, and it's clear there's no easy answer.
Yeah. No, it's a debate that could go on forever.
It really could.
But I think that's what makes this whole topic so captivating, you know?
Yeah.
It's not just about finding the right answer. It's
Yeah.
about the conversation itself.
Exactly. Forces us to really think about,
Yeah.
what we truly value in an athlete.
What do we value?
Is it raw talent?
Mm-hmm.
Is it dominance within their sport?
Right.
Or is it something more intangible, like
Yeah.
their ability to inspire others,
To transcend the game.
to transcend the game, to become a cultural icon?
Become a cultural icon. Yeah.
And that's what's so cool about these 2 lists we've been discussing.
Right.
They highlight athletes
Yeah.
who embody all of those qualities,
Mm-hmm.
but in different ways.
But in different ways, yeah.
You got Michael Jordan,
Right.
the epitome of basketball brilliance and competitive drive.
Right. The ultimate competitor.
Then you have Muhammad Ali,
Yeah.
who was as much a champion for social justice as he was a boxing legend.
Absolutely a legend in and out of the ring.
And you can't forget Usain Bolt,
Oh, yeah.
who redefined what speed even looks like.
Right.
Or Wayne Gretzky,
Wayne Gretzky.
who just dominated hockey
Uh-huh.
in a way we might never see again.
Probably not.
And then there's Michael Phelps,
Right.
whose Olympic achievements are almost superhuman.
They really are.
No?
Yeah. It's mind-blowing.
It's a pretty incredible group to consider. And it makes you wonder, like, what if
Yeah.
these athletes could somehow compete against each other
Right.
across time and space?
What if we could have like a fantasy league
Oh, man.
of all time greats?
And now you're talking.
Oh, man, that'd be so cool.
Could you imagine, like, Jordan going head-to-head with LeBron James?
Or Bolt racing against Jesse Owens.
I know, right?
Oh, man.
It's fun to think about.
It's a fun thought experiment.
It is.
It lets us appreciate their unique talents
Yeah,
and how their respective sports have evolved over time.
it really does.
Yeah.
I think the biggest takeaway for me is that the GOAT conversation is less about finding a definitive answer
Right.
and more about appreciating the incredible achievements of these athletes.
For sure.
And what they represent.
I totally agree. It's about recognizing their dedication, their passion,
Yeah.
you know, their sheer willpower and the impact they've had on their sports and the world as a whole.
Absolutely. And for you listening, I hope this deep dive has kind of sparked your own curiosity.
Yeah.
Keep exploring the stories of these incredible athletes.
Yeah. Watch their highlights, read their biographies.
Watch their highlights.
Engage in those, passionate debates about who truly deserves that just title.
Right, because at the end of the day,
Yeah.
it's all about the joy of discovery
Yeah.
and the inspiration that these athletes continue to provide.
Absolutely.